Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.
Hey thinkers, welcome back to another episode of I've Been Thinking. I'm so glad y'all are here, and I'm so very excited to share this episode with you. It's me, your girl, Elena Grace, and we have a very special guest on today's episode. I brought for you guys my boyfriend, Adam. Dragged him all the way in from the other room to record this episode that I have been really meditating on and wanting to share with you guys for a while. And I'm so grateful that he trusted me with this story of his life. So this episode, we are talking, Adam is sharing with us, and I am inundating him with questions about his not so traditional childhood and early years. So you'll learn more. You'll learn all about it in the episode. I won't spoil it for you, but I really think that, first of all, for anyone who knows Adam, this is probably not what you're going to expect from him. I know that anybody who knows him and a lot of people who have listened to episodes with him before or know him just through me, he's an abrasive personality. He is. He just whipped around on the couch to glare at me. But this is honestly a heartwarming episode. It is about empathy and about changing perspectives on the world. It is about not knowing what someone has been through and, not judging them based on your preconceived notions. So this is a really beautiful episode, and it is just so special. Again, I'm so thankful that Adam trusted me with this and that he is so brave to share this with the world. He wouldn't call it that, but I do think that this is a kind of vulnerability that it takes a lot of bravery and a lot of humility also to share. So anyway, with all that being said, I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. By the way, Adam, can you please turn that down? Please stop watching TikToks while I'm doing this. By the way, everybody, this episode is in video form on Patreon and has been since yesterday. And this is probably going to be our first YouTube episode as well. So I'm really excited about that. Okay, guys, with all that, I love you. Thank you for being here. And here's Adam.
So I'm Adam, Alina's sugar daddy.
My sugar daddy, and it just started pouring the rain, so I'm sorry if you guys can hear that. He is my sugar daddy, and I am his, or he is my muse. So it works out. Don't you think?
For the most part.
For the most part. Puppy daddy, I like to say.
That's good too.
Yeah, yeah. So Adam, you are here today.
I am.
You are here. We are going to talk about something really like near and dear, I guess, to both of our hearts, and it's how you grew up. So you had a little bit of a non-traditional life in your well, really most of your life. So go ahead and tell us about that with what you're comfortable telling us. Why are your boots still on?
They're comfy.
Okay, go ahead.
Great boots.
Great boots. Red Wing sponsor us.
It'd be great, honestly. So my upbringing, non-traditional. So my parents didn't make the best of decisions, neither of them.
Right.
So that ultimately led me to being removed from their care. And luckily, I had a very loving grandmother who my brother and I annoyed, very much so, to the point where she would lock us out of the house, and in the middle of the summer we would complain about dying of thirst, and she'd tell us to drink from the hose, which I'm pretty
A little lead poisoning
ruin your
can't fix.
cognitive function, but
That explains a few things.
yeah, well, okay. But and then when she passed away unexpectedly on a family vacation in front of 60 people, I went home with my aunt and uncle. So luckily I had another family member to be dumped on, and ended up being a blessing because they've taken very good care of me. But I'm eternally grateful to them for what they've done, because if you think of it, they just recently got married, just had their firstborn son, Grady, and
Shout out to Gravy.
yeah, and I couldn't imagine, me wanting to start my life, and all of a sudden, here's this big old ranch, two rambunctious
A big old,
menaces.
yeah, rambunctious 8-year-old wrench.
Yeah, and my older brother dumped on their foot.
Yeah, I forget
doorstep.
about him.
Yeah, well, he's
yeah,
not important.
well, no, he's not.
But so they took me in, and slept on their living room floor for a while because they had a tinier house, and I forget how long that happened or occurred for, but eventually, we got an air mattress. It's not like Lemony Snicket's or something, but
I'm sure you didn't sleep on the floor as long as
it wasn't too long. No.
Well, I'm sure it's probably even less than you remember it being.
It was a couple nights.
Yeah. Exactly. Because when you're a little kid, you're like, oh my gosh, this is forever.
But I didn't really care too much. But
yeah.
So from then on, they put us in school, but then they quickly realized that the living space was not ideal for 5 occupants now. So,
yeah, 3 children.
Yeah, so quickly relocated. Well, not quickly. It's like a year or so. I'm not
That's
really
pretty
sure
quick.
the time frame. I can't remember that much.
Well.
But relocated to a nice, bigger home. And since then, they've raised me, put me through school, helped with college. And it's always been an interesting dynamic, too, because I'm rather close to their age. So it's been more of a kind of a friendship / parent deal.
Yeah.
But of course they're still strict, and they were much harder on me than their younger children, and that really irks me. How much they get away with and how they speak to them.
They got it good.
Yeah. So, but it's been fun, and they set me up for a prosperous life, and they're always there begging me to come back since we've moved away.
Yes.
Maybe a little bit resentment for that, but
No.
they did try to convince me to leave, and I
Yes.
did leave. but, we're going to visit. Yeah.
That's a promise.
Yeah.
We're visiting in like 2 weeks. Yeah. Well, now I forgot what I was going to say. So you were 8 when you went to live with them. Like you said, they had just started their marriage. They were pregnant with / had just given birth. Grady had just been born. I want to say, funniest thing Greg, Adam's father figure, has ever said in his life. I said to them one day, this was like Thanksgiving weekend, we were all hanging out, and I said to them, sometimes I forget that you all are as young as you are, because most other parents our age are like 50s and 60s at this point. And Greg said, well, Adam was 8 when Jenny popped him out, so that really affected it. Hilarious. The delivery, was that not like the funniest thing he's ever said?
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
He has his moments.
He does. No, but they are your parents, and that's something that I think has been not at all difficult for you to admit, but because of the non-traditional nature of it, a lot of the time, do you feel the need to kind of clarify my parents, well, my aunt and uncle, or like that kind of thing? Do you feel the need to clarify that?
Not to strangers, I don't really care, but
well, right.
To people that are either going to be or are in my life that aren't aware of it, I'll let them know, because family does come up in conversation.
Right.
But
yeah.
But I forgot.
Oh, okay. Well, now we'll hit the point that you wanted to hit. So I want to kind of take it step by step. When you were a little kid, like maybe even before when it was you with Grandma, how did that non-traditional setup, like how did it feel? Did you feel different because of it? How do you think that has affected you to this point?
Well, I grew up kind of envious of other kids, having a nice family and all, but honestly, like, always distracted.
Yeah.
People would buy gifts all the time. I guess they felt bad, but I always had a Power Wheel or something fun to ride on, and I love that thing. And but really, like, longing for something else.
Yeah.
But as a kid, you just don't really think of things the same way.
Right. And you don't realize those are the emotions you're feeling. You kind of recognize them after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clarity. 2020.
Yeah, but even with like Jenny or Greg, like, I never referred to them to their face like mom and dad, and I always thought it was kind of weird. And Greg made a point in saying, like, hey, you don't need to call us this, and I was like, well, great, I didn't plan on it. But they are, and one thing that helps solidify it is that, like, you're just watching, like, TV shows, or, like, someone's in a bad situation, and they're always chasing after, like, well, who is my dad? And they're chasing after, their deadbeat father or mother, or someone that, really didn't have any effect in their upbringing, and they always want to know, which kind of pisses me off, because that person is irrelevant, because all they did was, produce you, and then they're gone. They didn't really have an impact on your life other than, giving you life, and you don't really owe them anything.
Yeah.
So
that's a really interesting point that you bring up there, and that's why I wanted this episode with the two of us to come out when it is, and this conversation to happen when it is, because the last episode here on I've Been Thinking was with Confessions of a Chinese Adoptee, and Kristen and I talked about how she is interested in just knowing why her parents made the choice to put her up for adoption. She, assumes that she was probably a casualty, if you will, of the one-child policy, because there is that context of that being a major factor in parents' decisions at that point in time. and she loves her family and all of that, but she, doesn't know anything about her birth family. So she's just curious about the context and, why they made that decision. Do you think that knowing kind of the context helped you move on from it?
No.
No?
No. Because it really never mattered to me.
Yeah.
Because I was happy with the life I had, and I didn't really care about, any pre-existing people that, played no part. But, and I guess what aided to that was that, I didn't really, up until recently, I didn't know how many siblings I had. Which,
that was a shock.
yeah, I found that out on an obituary. So it's not, I've never looked into it. I've never tracked people down. I don't reach out. My sister does, seldomly try to
every once in a while
reconnect with people that she cares about.
But that's also usually based on, like, for example, she had a memory of somebody that was in your family that she was like, I don't understand what happened to that person. So she tried to find them. So there's kind of that unanswered questions, the lack of context, all of that. And that created the curiosity in her. But you just really don't have that. You also didn't remember him. Like, that was before you were born. But, yeah, it's real. She is affected by the curiosity and the wanting to understand more. And she very much wants to connect. And do you feel like you have that desire for connection? Like, do you feel like you're... No?
No.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
I've always been satisfied with where I was with my relationship with Jenny and Greg and my family.
Yeah.
But anyone outside of that, hasn't been there, I don't really care about them. They have no effect on my life, so.
Yeah. Well, with other people, do you feel like you have a desire to connect? Like, do you still feel any sense of longing for more?
Mm-hmm.
Did I fulfill you?
I wouldn't give you that much credit. No, it's just eventually, growing up and understanding emotions and feelings and how things played out, I just came to the realization that, I was fine with where I was and happy with where I was and didn't really care about nobody else.
Right. So, obviously at some point you stopped feeling that sense of longing for a family.
Yeah, when I said that, it wasn't.
No, I know.
It wasn't for very long.
Yeah.
It was more so like
well,
when I was with my grandmother.
I was gonna say when you were with Grandma after the point where you had gained sentience, which is like usually around like 5 years old. 7. Okay, yeah. 7, you gained sentience. Then you were like, oh, there's something different here. Like, I want something that other people have. Then you got it all of a sudden. And even though you didn't always name it exactly what it was, because it took some time to grow into, you had your longings had been fulfilled, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, Lord, I had a question lined up for you, and it left my brain because that thank you was pretty cute.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, what was it, like, did you have anything in particular that really helped you move through? Because that's, like, a lot of emotions. You're especially... And I know that you're going to say, oh, I didn't have, like, a ton of emotions when I was a teenager or whatever, because, like, you're Adam. But
everyone has a lot of emotions as a teenager.
Oh, I'm glad you admit to that. When they told Adam that they were pregnant with the youngest sibling, he cried and ran to his bedroom and slammed the door.
I don't remember it like that, but if they want to tell tall tales...
How do you remember it?
Huh?
How do you remember it?
I was not that old. I was like 12 or 13 or something. It was Mallory.
Yeah, I know. Mallory's like 11 now.
Okay.
So we're 26, 27. So what's that? 13. Okay, that's still a teenager.
You want to try that
15.
again? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think I can remember that, and I did.
So what did you do?
I was a little upset, but not like really, kind of like a playful, like, oh, come on. But
I believe the crying story.
I don't remember crying about it, but also Greg told you that, so he lies a lot.
Greg does lie. You can quote me on that.
No.
He's already unsure about me, so. So what helped you move through all of that, all of those emotions? Like, did you have resources? I mean, I know that you had opportunities. Were you given the right resources, you think, to move through all of that and really come to terms and cope with everything as you were becoming like a full human?
Yeah. Jenny and Greg, they had therapy for me, and I didn't feel like I needed it, and I don't feel like I got anything from it because it was just talking a lot. I mean, I know that's what therapy is, but I never had a eureka moment with it. I didn't come to any realization with it, but I would say the best thing for it was time and, I guess, love from them.
Yeah.
Because I hated therapy, and I made a point not to share stuff because I hated it so much, and I hated the guy I talked to, Ted. So.
Do we say fuck you, Ted?
No. I mean, he didn't mistreat me or anything. It wasn't mean.
But you just didn't like him.
No.
Oh, okay.
Plus, I was forced to talk to him, and I don't like being forced to do anything.
That's true. Adam barely talks to me, and that's part of the obligation of being in a relationship. Anyway, so I'm glad, though, it's always so refreshing when parents give their children all of the resources necessary, rather than saying, oh no, my child doesn't need this, my child is fine. So something that really made me gain a whole different level of respect for Jenny and Greg was when you told me that they had sent you to therapy as a young person, because that's so important for anybody. A lot of people I could probably use therapy. I probably wouldn't be keeping you awake at night talking to you if I had a therapist. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, I think that's so admirable that they sent you to therapy, that they gave you that outlet, and even though you didn't like it, and I fully believe that you just didn't tell them things just to be spiteful. I'm sure that it really did help in the long run. Do you think that gave you any tools to, handle your emotions as an adult now?
No.
God, of course not. Of course you don't.
No. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with giving all the credits to Jenny and Greg and not stupid therapy.
Let's be clear. Adam just didn't like going to therapy for himself. He doesn't think therapy is always stupid.
I think it is stupid. I think it's overpriced, and that I know there's a lot of science behind it, but I don't think it's always the best route.
Well, and I think that's important. This is going to turn into a brief sidetrack about therapy, but it not always being the best route is totally fine. That's a fine observation to have. Medication isn't always the best route. Going on a run isn't always the best route. It really It really depends on the person of finding what fits them and their needs the best. Yeah. Because not everybody needs a glass of wine at the end of the day. I don't need a glass of wine, but I like a glass of wine at the end of the day. It has cheered me up a little bit today, don't you think?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. But for some people, therapy is what they need. They need an objective person to help them talk through things. But I'll be honest, I don't think you had anything that you needed an objective person for, because all of the terrible things that had happened in your life and the terrible circumstances you had been in, like, they were objectively terrible. And you knew that. You had never been tricked into thinking really that they were okay.
Well, yeah, no one tried to convince me things were normal. But also some things I didn't realize how bad of a situation it was till later.
Right. Well, and that's being a child. Like, children never realize how bad the situation is because that's all they know. You know? Mm-hmm. I know I have family members who are adopted and they never knew that, or they didn't know for a long time that the things that they experienced were not okay and were not normal. And that's another thing. I want to say this. The reason that we're saying you had a non-traditional upbringing is because it wasn't traditional in the terms of, like, you had your nuclear family unit, you were raised by your birth parents, yada, yada, yada. From birth. You were raised by the same parents from birth, all of that.
Isn't that what traditional means?
Exactly.
Okay.
But we're not saying a non-average, because there are so many people who are raised in non-traditional methods. And I really wanted to be clear about that, like when I started planning this episode and we started talking about it, I wanted to make sure I was using the right verbiage and say, like, non-traditional, because I don't want people to think that 1950s nuclear family unit of 3.5 kids and a dog and mom and dad is normal, because it's not.
It's normal to get divorced, honestly.
Yeah, it is more normal to get divorced. And having a non-traditional family life is so much more normal today. So many people experience that today in 2022, and have, especially people our age, have experienced that kind of upbringing. Mm. So I wanted to make sure that we, like, made that clear, that it's not, obviously it's not a bad thing, but also that it's not an abnormal thing. It's just not quote unquote traditional, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so now,
all right,
as an adult, how have your experiences affected your perspectives on the world?
I'd say the biggest thing is that I'm less trusting of people.
Yeah.
Because I was lied to a lot as a kid. Obviously not by Jenny and Greg, but...
Wait, can I say my favorite lie but it's not a lie that you were told?
Sure, I don't know what it is.
Adam's birth mother used to, and she used to say, your Aunt Jenny wants to steal you from me. And Adam told me that, and he goes, well, she wasn't lying. She did want to steal me. And eventually she did. No. But that's my favorite, was that she was like, she wants to steal you from me.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about narcolepsy.
Oh, shit. You can tell that story if you want to. You tell that one.
So on various occasions, my mom would be falling asleep at the wheel from being inebriated and would blame it on narcolepsy. And at the time, I'm like, what the fuck is narcolepsy? But I don't know how I figured it out, but someone explained it to me, because she never did. So
You
I didn't mean anything to me,
listen, I'm not going to lie, you probably learned it in social studies because I learned what narcolepsy was in social studies because Harriet Tubman had narcolepsy. Because she had a traumatic brain injury and she had narcolepsy.
All right, well, I doubt it was in that class because I don't think every teacher would touch on that subject with Harriet Tubman, so that's a very exclusive experience to you probably. So,
No.
yeah, but so I didn't really know what it was, but she just fallen asleep, and I was like, she works a lot. Like, she's just tired, you know? And it was a lot. It happened quite a bit. And later on, obviously, I mean, I'm not stupid. You realize that,
Yeah.
that was just an excuse, but not a very good situation to be in. Obviously, there's much worse ones, but that's just kind of like the most tame one for a story, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so back to the question. You are less trusting.
Yep.
How else has it kind of affected you as an adult, your perspectives on the world?
I guess skeptical as well. You learn not to take everything for the face value that someone's like portraying something to be, and which isn't a bad thing. I just don't outright trust people with everything, and so usually more reserved in certain aspects, and so until I get the full picture, I feel like I have gotten the full picture just by watching, observing, taking everything in, how people talk to me, how they treat me, and that's just on a personal level. But I guess world events, or how well, I don't, not politically, but just more cynical,
Yeah.
trying to judge things before diving in. Probably would never join a cult because of that, so that's good.
That is good. That's good to know. You were in the Marine Corps. That's almost a cult.
I mean, every branch of service brainwashes you, but I feel like the Marine Corps does it the best. But you just see it like, because you're indoctrinated, right? You're trained to think a certain way. You're trained to do things a certain
Right.
way, and I probably use that a lot, just the way I was taught. And I wouldn't say it was a bad thing. Like, I do things efficiently and effective most of the time when I'm trying to.
You are, yeah.
But I guess between branches, I mean, Marine Corps definitely is the worst, and you see it a lot in the younger generation that has just come through, and they're saying all the same shit that people 20 years that came through, boot camp or training, and they all say the same thing, and they think they're better than everyone, and
Yeah.
same tactics, just differently.
And you know what? You know what's really interesting? This is like a side observation. Enlisted Marines always have really strong feelings about, I'm a Marine, that makes me better, that makes me stronger, that makes me, etc., etc. Like, everybody else sucks. It's enlisted Marines get really strong brainwashing, I feel, compared to even officers in the Marine Corps. Because officers I've known have been like, yeah, Marine Corps, cool.
Well, the officers usually are typically more educated.
Well, yeah,
and
that's
a lot older
yeah.
at the time, so they see through the BS a lot more. But it's also, I guess that the vibe between enlisted and officer, it's more like blue collar.
Well, yeah, it literally is blue collar, white collar.
Yeah.
Like 98% of the time, it is. Yeah, yeah. So.
But even that experience through, I guess, my time serving, Jenny was a big proponent in pushing me to do that. I think the biggest proponent was to, give me some type of direction, some discipline.
Yes.
But they were very adamant on not wanting me to go all in before college, because they felt that if I did that I would never go to college, which I don't think I would have. Not gone to college.
Oh, okay,
I would have gone to college still,
you
probably.
would have gone to college.
Yeah, unless the skills I learned If I had done, active duty with it, they would have been a lot more transferable versus what I did in the reserve. So,
Right. I follow that. Yeah. So if you had gone active duty, you potentially would have been less likely to go to college, which is what they were afraid of.
Yeah,
but
well,
the skills that you learned would have been more transferable, like you said, to the outside civilian world.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would
that
have
makes
had
sense.
very specialized certificates versus a general education in something that I paid money for.
True. A very special set of skills, as Liam Neeson once said. So, with all of that being said, my last question is, so you did say, you're less trusting, more skeptical, you're reserved, you're cynical. Do you feel like it had any, like this non-traditional upbringing had any really positive, or do you feel like those are positive effects? Like, what really truly positive ways did this affect you and how you perceive of the world?
Well, I would say those are positive because I'm not hateful by any means. I'm very accepting of, different people, but
He is very accepting.
I just make fun of them.
He's got a terrible sense of humor, but very accepting and very loving.
Yeah, so I guess typically I don't, try to list positives out of a negative situation like that.
But you should.
Yeah, well, I'm not a therapist. I don't do that, okay?
I'm not a therapist
But-
either.
I know you're all about feelings and such, but
I got a lot of feelings.
enough
cried
for
like-
us, but
Cried 3 times in this episode.
But overall, I would say that it has made me stronger in understanding people and being a little bit more self-sufficient and being more disciplined with myself. But yeah, I mean, I think those are positives, right?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of made those negative things you said sound positive too, so
You did.
all a green plus over here. I recommend the experience, so if you want to get your parents divorced or have
Or get them addicted to drugs
have
or...
a tragedy, it'll make you better.
recommend the experience. But your birth parents, not the parents that raise you. Those parents have to be on the straight and narrow.
If they have a good sister or brother then that you can live with later on, then go for it,
You're so funny. Okay, do you have anything that you can think of specifically that is applicable to anybody that has helped you throughout your life? Or even as an adult, helped you cope, helped you whatever, that you could recommend to somebody?
For coping?
Yeah, for coping, or even for learning more about these experiences and being more empathetic to others.
Well, as far as coping, I guess typically men.
Therapy?
No. Ignoring your problems and diving deep into distractions has helped a lot. I know that's not probably what you want to hear, but typically,
I thought
it's
you were
well
going to
known.
say
I don't care
ignoring
what
your
you thought.
problems is a bad thing. I don't know.
No, it's a good thing.
That's not a good coping mechanism because then they come up later.
It's helped me, and they're no longer problems. So
Adam,
I think it's worked out fine.
That's terrible advice. Go on.
Well, it worked out for me.
Hold on. This advice is not endorsed by I've Been Thinking Productions or Elena Grace Campbell herself.
You are interviewing me, and you asked my opinion, and that's my opinion.
Okay, and I'm just disclaiming that it's not endorsed.
Okay. What was the other question or part of it?
How can people maybe gain empathy for other people in non-traditional? Because I will say this too, I think that a lot of people lack empathy for those non-traditional family situations, and that directly affects how they treat other people, the policies that they make, decisions that are made on small or large scales. I think that all of that, people really have a hard time relating to other people who have not been raised the same way they have. Do you have any thoughts on that or recommendations?
I mean, obviously my position wasn't as worse as some or most, I would say, but I don't think it's very easy for someone that hasn't, been connected to someone that's gone through hardship to have empathy. And I mean, like, empathy, like, fully understand their situation, because, a lot of people are removed from it, whether they're wealthy or they just, they have a traditional life and they never encounter something like that. You can say you have empathy, you can say you feel bad for them, but I don't think most people are actually going to understand what it is like to go through something like that. So, I guess that's it on that.
Just knowing someone? Just knowing someone who's gone through that is like really the only way.
That definitely helps, because you're connected to it, right? So you're in a way experiencing it from their lens, and I mean, that's close enough to be empathetic to it.
Okay. Have you ever watched anything or listened to anything that has really connected to you, that like in a really unique way? Like relating to your upbringing?
No, nothing I can recall. I mean, like, obviously, like, medical shows and stuff where, someone's brought into the ER and then you have a terrible parent there and they're not able to take care of you. But I guess when I see things in, like, media or referenced, like, on the news, like, I'm pretty well removed from my experience, I would say, where I don't really care about it anymore, Like,
about your experience.
Yeah, like, I'm well over it, so nothing really moves me or affects me in that way. More so now that I do think there is a level of obviously this depends on how old you are, but like victimization when you're in certain roles like that, where there's a lot you can do. I understand some are difficult to get out of, but if you're willing to put the effort in and be strong enough to do so, if you have a good support group, to remove yourself from this situation, you can. Or even if it's just emotionally, just block it out.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like it's always necessary. I know you said it's not endorsed to always confront feelings like that, because I ignored them. I got over it, and I no longer care about any of that anymore. So
it's true. You really don't care about a lot of those things that you went through. They're not something that has traumatized you in the long run. It's not something that, like, it being brought up triggers you into anxiety or something like that. But then at the same time, I do think that you are very jaded by those things, and that has really affected who you are as a person. Which goes back to you being cynical and skeptical and all of that. You're very jaded of the world. And it's not a bad thing, but it does make me sad sometimes. that you don't see all of the beauty that I see.
I just don't cry on commercials. Okay.
Anyway, and then also, I do think it's really important that you noted that having support is important for anybody who is in a bad situation, because you did luckily have support, and I'm so thankful for baby Adam that you did have support. Baby Adam was so fucking cute. I can't even. So cute. I'm so grateful for baby Adam that he had support, and for adult Adam now that you had that support, because I think it saved you, and ultimately us from so much trauma, because you have been able to move away from that trauma really quickly and easily. But at the same time, I think that the circumstances that you were put through are why you can remove yourself mentally from emotions so easily. Cold-hearted. That's the damn truth.
Yeah. But I'm glad when you were saying all that you focused more on, like, I guess the positives of it, because a lot of people, they tend to feel sorry, like, oh, sorry you had to go through that, blah 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 blah, and that upsets me. It makes me a little mad.
Well, because you don't like being a victim. No,
and I never will take advantage of being a victim,
right,
if I can avoid it,
right.
But and so many people do, and I don't ever want to be known for being a sad story.
Right. You're an overcoming story.
And
you're more than the sadness. You're so much more than the sad part of your story. You are overcoming, but you bloom on your own.
What flower would I be?
What flower would you be? You'd be a bromeliad. Do you like that?
I have no idea what that is.
We have one on the deck. The big red one.
Okay.
Other direction.
Blinds.
You can see through them. Okay. So things are rattling because our neighbor is very loud.
They're obese.
She's not obese. Adam, don't say that. Don't say
They're just heavy-footed.
She's very heavy-footed. And she also slams doors and cabinets. Adam, do you want people to follow you on social media?
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Well, then follow the podcast on social media at I've Been Thinking Pod. Check out our website and blog, I'veBeenThinkingPod.com. And check out the Patreon, where this is available in video form. Patreon.com/I've Been Thinking Pod. You can subscribe multiple levels. But $5 gets you video episodes early, as well as video content. $10 gets you more video content. And $3, you just get regular old podcast episodes a little bit early. Nobody subscribes to $3 because everybody wants the videos. I can't say I blame them. I look real cute. I dress up for them, don't I?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're good.
This is my work attire.
This is my work attire also. Anyway, okay, love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. And Adam, thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me hold you hostage through this.
Thank you. I live here, so can't go far.
You're a treat, Adam Robert.
Thank you.
Love you guys. Bye.
Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist, and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
Wake up at Holiday Inn Express to a can't-miss breakfast that's free with every stay. Count on all the hot, fresh coffee you need and an incredible breakfast buffet that has something for everyone, like eggs, cinnamon rolls, and even hot, fresh pancakes with all the toppings you crave. Next time, do yourself a favor and stay at a Holiday Inn Express with a can't-miss breakfast that's free with every stay. So, when you wake up at Holiday Inn Express, you'll wake up happy, a part of IHG Hotels and Resorts.